Where did you hide the money, you worthless trash? You're already at stage 4, that can't be cured, and my mom needs a vacation, the husband yelled at his fading wife. And that very evening, life punished him in the cruelest way. And before we begin, I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and enjoy listening. The 4 drip monotonously counted off the seconds. Drip, drip, drip. Sarah lay on the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling covered in tiny cracks. She was 34 years old, but felt more like 70. Her body no longer obeyed her, every movement took effort, but the worst part wasn't the pain. The worst part was understanding how she ended up here and who had brought her to this point. Heavy, confident footsteps sounded outside the ward door. Sarah would have recognized them out of 1,000. Her heart tightened not from love, like it once had, but from something else entirely. Fear. Disgust. Even she could no longer tell. The door swung open, and he walked in, her husband, David. The man she had once loved more than life itself. So, he said instead of a greeting, "How long are you planning to lie around here?" Sarah didn't answer. She looked at his face, trying to find even a shadow of the man she had fallen in love with 5 years ago. She found nothing. But everything in order. 5 years earlier, Sarah's life had been completely different. She was 29 and had just received a promotion, senior analyst at a large marketing company. Her own office on the 7th floor, a view of the city's central square, a nameplate on the door with her name. Everything she had dreamed of when she started her career 5 years earlier had come true. Sarah remembered that day down to the smallest detail. How her boss, Caroline, called her into her office. How she announced the board's decision. How Sarah later stood by the window of her new office and couldn't believe this was really happening to her. The first thing she did was call her mom. "Sarah." Diana's voice trembled with excitement. "I'm so proud of you. Your dad is going to be so happy." Her parents were simple people. Her father had worked as an engineer at a factory for 30 years, her mother just as long as an elementary school teacher. They had never known luxury, counted every dollar, but did everything they could for their only daughter. When Sarah graduated from college with honors, her parents gave her an apartment, a small one-bedroom on the outskirts of the city, which they had been paying off with a mortgage for 10 years. "This is your home," her father said back then, handing her the keys. "No matter what happens, you'll always have a roof over your head." Sarah swore to herself that she would live up to their trust, that she would succeed and one day repay them 100-fold. And now, standing in her office, she felt it. The first step had been taken. "Let's celebrate." Jenny burst into the office, her coworker and friend, with whom she had started as an intern. "You got promoted, right? I've got a report due Monday." "You're impossible." "Fine, just coffee then. Come on, tear yourself away from those papers for half an hour." Sarah smiled and agreed. She really did work too much. Her colleagues even joked that she was having an affair with the office. But what could she do if she loved what she did? And if, aside from work, there wasn't much else in her life? Her last serious relationship had ended 3 years earlier. Her then boyfriend, Mike, packed his things and declared, "You're married to your job, Sarah, and I need a normal woman." It hurt, but not for long. Sarah knew how to get through things quietly, calmly, without hysterics. She just clenched her teeth and moved on. Her friends tried to set her up, arranged chance meetings. Sarah brushed it off with jokes. But sometimes, coming home in the evening to an empty apartment, she caught herself thinking it would be nice if someone were waiting. Not with dinner and slippers, just waiting. Still, she quickly pushed those thoughts away. Career first, everything else later. That was the right way. Fate decided otherwise. A month after her promotion, the company held a corporate party for its 15th anniversary. They rented a restaurant at the Grand Plaza Hotel, one of the best in the city. Sarah didn't want to go. She had another urgent project, and she had never liked social events. But Jenny practically dragged her there by force. "All the executives will be there. This is your chance. And stop hiding behind your computer already." The restaurant buzzed with voices and music. Sarah took a glass of champagne and moved toward the window. Her usual party strategy: stand off to the side, observe, wait for a chance to slip away unnoticed. Sorry, am I bothering you? She turned around. A man stood beside her, tall, dark-haired, with attentive brown eyes and a slight smile. A simple but neat suit. No expensive watch or flashy luxury. No, not at all. You're just the only one not trying to shout over the music. That's encouraging. My name's David. Sarah. They started talking. And Sarah herself didn't notice how 2 hours flew by. David worked at the hotel as a corporate accounts manager. He talked about himself simply, without bragging. He grew up in a small town, moved to the city with his mother after his father died. He had achieved everything on his own, working side jobs after school. My mom still can't believe I work at a hotel like this, he smiled. To her, it's like a palace. And your father? You said he passed away. Yes, I was 15. An accident at the plant. My mom had to raise me alone. She sacrificed a lot for me. There was such warmth in his voice when he talked about his mother that Sarah was genuinely touched. Taking care of your parents, that's a good thing. That's how it should be. They exchanged phone numbers. And a week later, David called and invited her to dinner. Their first date took place at a small Italian restaurant not far from downtown. Cozy, quiet, with dim lighting and live music. A pianist in the corner played something soft and melodic. David arrived with a bouquet, modest, but chosen with taste. You look so beautiful today, he said when Sarah took off her coat. She blushed. She wasn't used to compliments anymore. Over dinner, they talked about everything and nothing: work, childhood, favorite books, and movies. David listened attentively, didn't interrupt, asked questions. It was easy and calm with him. You know, I usually don't go on dates, Sarah admitted over dessert. Work takes all my time. Then I'm lucky you made an exception. He walked her home and, when they said goodbye, kissed her on the cheek lightly, almost weightless. I'll call, David said. And he did. The very next day. Their relationship developed quickly. After a month, they were seeing each other almost every evening. After 2, David was already staying over at Sarah's place. She felt happy for the first time in many years. With him, she could just be a woman, not a robot in a skirt, as her ex had called her. David was attentive and caring, bringing coffee to bed, making breakfast, asking about her workday. You're amazing, he would say, hugging her. I don't understand how a woman like you was alone. Sarah melted at those words. She didn't understand it either, how she had gotten so lucky. The only thing that worried her a little was David's relationship with his mother. He called her several times a day, could rush over at any moment if she complained about feeling unwell. Mom's blood pressure spiked, he would explain, hurriedly getting dressed at 3 in the morning. I need to go check on her. But you could call an ambulance. You don't understand. Mom's alone, she's scared. She has no one but me. Sarah tried not to make a big deal out of it. So what? Taking care of your mother is a good thing. There are so many men who forget about their parents. David isn't like that. He's a real son. 6 months after they met, David proposed. It happened at the seaside. They went away together for the weekend to a small resort town. They walked along the beach in the evening, watching the sunset. And suddenly, David stopped, dropped to one knee, and pulled out a small velvet box. Sarah, he said, his voice shaking, I know we haven't known each other that long, but I've never been so sure of anything in my life. Will you marry me? Inside the box was a ring, thin, delicate, with a small diamond. Sarah looked at it and couldn't say a word. Her heart was pounding like crazy. Yes, she finally whispered. Yes, of course, yes. David slipped the ring onto her finger, stood up, and hugged her tightly. And Sarah stood in his arms, looking at the glowing sky, thinking, this is it. Happiness. Real, tangible, hers. The first warning sign came 2 weeks after the engagement. Sarah decided to introduce her fiancé to her parents. She arranged a dinner at their house. Her mom cooked a feast. Her dad brought out a good bottle of wine from the cellar. David liked her parents. Polite, well-mannered, joking a lot, praising her mom's cooking. After dinner, her father pulled Sarah aside. Good guy, he said. I can see he loves you. But don't rush, okay? 6 months isn't that long. Dad, I'm almost 30. If not now, then when? Her father wanted to say something, but changed his mind, just shook his head. You've always made your own decisions, Be careful, sweetheart. At the time, Sarah didn't understand what he meant. She chalked it up to normal parental worry. A week later, David introduced her to his mother. Barbara lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet residential neighborhood. The apartment was modestly furnished but clean. On the walls were photos of David at different ages: schoolboy, student, adult. In every one of them, he was with his mother. This is my fiancée, David introduced her. Sarah. Barbara looked her up and down slowly, appraisingly. Something flashed in her eyes and disappeared so quickly that Sarah decided she must have imagined it. So this is what you're like, her future mother-in-law said. My son has told me a lot about you. Sit down, we'll have some tea. The tea felt strange. Barbara spoke only to her son about his health, his job, and some mutual acquaintances. Sarah seemed invisible to her, and when she did address her, there was a barely noticeable condescension in her voice. So you work in an office? Sit at a computer all day? That's harmful, by the way. You will ruin your eyesight. Mom, Sarah is a senior analyst, David cut in. That's a very serious position. Analyst, Barbara repeated, as if tasting the word. Well. Sarah felt awkward but tried to blame it all on nerves. After all, what mother would easily accept the woman who was taking her only son away? On the way back, David was silent. Then he suddenly said, She liked you. Really? Sarah asked, genuinely surprised. Of course. Mom just doesn't know how to show her feelings. She's very reserved. But I saw the way she looked at you. She approves. Sarah wanted to object but kept quiet. Maybe David knows his mother better. Maybe she really did misunderstand everything. They had the wedding 3 months later, small and modest, just for the closest people. Sarah wore a simple white dress, no veil, no crinoline. She didn't need a lavish celebration, it was enough to have the man she loved by her side. Her parents cried with happiness. Her mother hugged her and whispered, I'm so happy for you, sweetheart, so happy. Her father firmly shook David's hand. Take care of her. Barbara sat at the wedding with her lips pressed tightly together. Sarah noticed it but decided not to pay attention. A celebration is a celebration. After the wedding, the newlyweds officially moved into Sarah's apartment. David brought his things. There weren't many of them, a couple of suitcases with clothes, some books, an old laptop. I'm used to living modestly, he explained. Mom always taught me that people matter more than things. Sarah smiled. She liked that her husband didn't chase material things. There was something right and genuine about that. The first few months were happy. David got up earlier and made breakfast. In the evenings, they watched movies, cuddled up on the couch. On weekends, they walked in the park or went out of town. I'm the happiest I've ever been, Sarah told her friend Jenny. Honestly, I didn't think it could be like this. Finally. Enough with work. I'm so happy for you. But gradually, a third person began to wedge herself into their life. Barbara called every day, sometimes several times a day. In the morning to ask how David was feeling. During the day to complain about her health. In the evening to ask when he was coming over. David, my heart is acting up. Could you stop by? Son, my blood pressure is spiking again. Please bring my medication. David, the faucet is leaking. I can't manage without you. David dropped everything and went. It didn't matter that he and Sarah had planned to go to the movies. It didn't matter that it was midnight. It didn't matter that he had an important meeting the next day. Mom had called. He had to go. You understand, he said, pulling on his jacket. She's alone. There's no one else. Sarah understood, or rather, tried to understand. After all, Barbara really was alone. Her husband had died many years ago, she had no relatives. David was her only support. How could he be blamed for that? But over time, the visits to his mother became more frequent. David started spending more and more time at Barbara's place. Saturdays, Sundays he was there all day. I'm helping around the house, he explained. It's hard for Mom, she's getting older. Barbara was 62, not that old, really, but she behaved as if she were already 90. She complained about her blood pressure, her heart, her joints, her insomnia, and, of course, her loneliness. What can I do? David sighed. It's my duty to take care of her. You love your parents too, you should understand. Sarah did love her parents. But they didn't call her 10 times a day. They didn't demand that she drop everything and rush across the city because of a blood pressure spike. They didn't throw tantrums if their daughter didn't come over on weekends. Still, Barbara didn't throw tantrums directly. She acted more subtly. David, you've lost weight, she would say in front of Sarah. Don't they feed you at home? Son, you don't look well. You must be tired. Working too much. David, you should rest. Maybe come stay with me for the weekend. I'll make your favorite ribs. Each phrase was like a small stone thrown into Sarah's yard. As if to say the wife isn't doing a good job, she doesn't take proper care of her husband. Unlike Mom. Sarah noticed the jabs but stayed silent. She didn't want conflict. She hoped that over time her mother-in-law would get used to her, accept her into the family. She didn't. A year passed. Sarah received another promotion. Now she was heading an entire department. Her salary doubled. She suggested buying a bigger apartment, maybe even downtown. And what about Mom? David asked. She's in a different neighborhood. If we move, how will I get to her? By car? By subway? David, it's not the other side of the world. You don't understand. She's already not doing well. And if I'm even farther away? They stayed in a small one-bedroom apartment. Sarah didn't insist. She didn't have the energy for arguments. A new major project had started at work. She stayed late at the office. David worked a lot too, but his salary remained the same low. One evening, Sarah noticed that a fairly large sum was missing from their joint account. David, did you withdraw money? Yes, he replied casually. Mom needed a new phone. The old one completely broke. Sarah looked at the statement. The amount was 3 times more than a regular phone costs. That's almost $1,000. What kind of phone is that? A normal one. Modern. Mom deserves it. Sarah wanted to object, but David looked at her in such a way that she stopped herself. What, you feel sorry for the money? He asked. That's my mother. You wouldn't be cheap with yours either. David, it's not about being cheap. It's about you not asking. We're a family. Expenses like that should be discussed together. What's there to discuss? Mom needed a phone. I bought it. Or do you want her walking around with a cracked screen? By then, Sarah was earning enough. One phone more, one less. But it wasn't the last phone. A month later, Barbara needed a new TV. Then a microwave. Then a washing machine. Then a health resort trip to recover. Each time, David took money from the shared budget without asking. And when Sarah tried to talk about it, he always said the same thing. You don't understand. Mom is alone. There's no one else to take care of her. What, are you jealous? Jealous of what, David? I just want us to plan expenses together. We are planning. It's just that you have a good salary, this money is nothing to you. But for Mom, it matters. Sarah felt that something was wrong, but blamed it on fatigue, on lack of time. David is a good man, he just loves his mom. What's so bad about that? One day, when Sarah was visiting her parents, her mother pulled her aside. Sarah, are you okay? Yes, Mom. Why? You've lost weight, and your eyes look sad. Is he hurting you? Mom, come on. David is a wonderful husband. It's just a lot going on at work. Diana shook her head but said nothing more. And her father, he always looked away when the topic of his son-in-law came up. Sarah noticed, but didn't ask. She was afraid to hear the answer. The first unexpected turn happened in their second year of marriage. Barbara called late in the evening. Sarah was already dozing off after a hard day. "David, I'm not feeling well," she heard through her half-sleep. "Come quickly." David jumped up as if stung. "What happened, Mom?" "My heart is stabbing. Very badly." "Hang on, Mom, I'm on my way." He got dressed in a minute and ran out of the apartment without even saying goodbye. Sarah lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. 3 hours later, David returned. "How is she?" Sarah asked. "Better. Her blood pressure was high. I called an ambulance. They gave her a shot." "What did the doctors say?" "She needs tests. But Mom doesn't want to go to the hospital, she's afraid." "Maybe you should convince her?" "If it's her heart, she needs treatment." "You don't understand," David replied, as usual. "Mom is afraid of doctors. She has a phobia. She'd rather rest at home." Sarah wanted to say that this wasn't a solution, that if her health was really that bad, she needed proper diagnostics. But she stayed silent. She was tired. The next day, she accidentally ran into Barbara's neighbor, the one who lived on the floor above. They bumped into each other at the store. "Oh, Sarah," the neighbor said happily. "How are you?" "How's David?" "Fine, thank you." "And how is Barbara?" "David went over last night. She wasn't feeling well." "Not feeling well?" The neighbor was surprised. "I saw her this morning full of energy, carrying grocery bags. I even thought, I wish I had that kind of health at her age." Sarah froze. "Are you sure?" "An ambulance was called for her last night." "Well, maybe it was, I don't know. But she looked great. We even chatted. She told me about some TV show. She was cheerful." Sarah came home shaken. "How am I supposed to understand this? Near death at night, and in the morning shopping bags and cheerful." She decided to carefully talk to David. "Listen, I ran into your mom's neighbor today. She said Barbara looked energetic in the morning, went shopping." "So what?" David frowned. "She was really bad last night, and today she's fine." "What's the problem?" "She got a shot and rested." "What's so surprising about that?" "It just seemed strange somehow." "What's strange?" David's voice hardened. "Are you saying she's pretending?" "I didn't say that." "But you thought it." "I can see it. You've never liked her, Sarah. You've always been against our relationship." "What relationship?" "Your mother and son." "Exactly. And you have no right to interfere. Mom is the only close person I have besides you. And you? You're trying to tear us apart." Sarah was stunned. She hadn't expected that turn at all. "David, I didn't say anything like that. I just asked." "I know exactly what you meant." "Enough, Sarah. Don't touch my mother." He left the room, slamming the door. And Sarah stayed sitting there with her mouth open, trying to understand what had just happened. That night, they slept separately for the first time, David on the couch. And Sarah lay in the empty bed, thinking that maybe she really had said something wrong. After that fight, Sarah tried not to bring up her mother-in-law anymore. She acted like everything was fine, smiled when David talked about his mom's problems, stayed quiet when he pulled money from their shared budget again, but inside, irritation kept building. She saw what was happening and couldn't change a thing. Another 6 months passed. Sarah started staying late at work more and more often. Not because she had to, but because she didn't want to go home. At home, either an empty apartment was waiting David at his mom's or her husband with an annoyed expression. "Why are you home so late? Your reports again?" One day, she started feeling sick at the office. The room spun, her stomach turned. Her coworkers got worried and wanted to call an ambulance, but Sarah refused. "I'm just tired," she said. "I need to sleep." But even after the weekend, she didn't feel better. The dizziness came back. A constant exhaustion appeared, one she'd never had before. She lost 6 pounds in a month, even though she was eating like usual. "You need to see a doctor," Jenny said. "You don't look like yourself." "It's nothing. Just stress at work." "What stress?" "You love your job." "Sarah, go see a doctor." I'm serious. Sarah brushed her off. She didn't have time to go to doctors. Another project, deadlines on fire, management pressuring her. And what was there to be afraid of? She was only 33. Nothing serious could be going on. The second unexpected turn happened a month later. Sarah fainted right in the office. She came to in an ambulance. Someone from work had called. What happened? She asked, trying to sit up. Stay down, the paramedic said. You lost consciousness. We're going to the hospital now, we'll see what's going on. At the hospital they did blood work, an ultrasound, and other tests. Sarah lay in intake, waiting for the results. She was scared, even though she wouldn't admit it to herself. 2 hours later a doctor came in, an older man with tired eyes. Sarah, we found some abnormalities in your tests, he began. We need additional examinations. I recommend you stay with us for a few days. What do you mean, abnormalities? Sarah's voice shook. It's too early to draw conclusions. Let's check everything first. He spoke calmly, but Sarah saw something flicker in his eye, something doctors usually try to hide from patients. She called David. I'm in the hospital. I fainted at work. Which hospital? What happened? City Hospital, Building 3. I don't know yet. They need to run tests. Okay. I'll come after work. David, I'm scared. Can you come now? A pause. Sarah, I'm at work. I can't drop everything. I'll come this evening, okay? Hang in there. He hung up. And Sarah stayed there alone, staring at the white ceiling of the hospital room. That evening David didn't come. He called and said his mom's blood pressure was acting up again and he needed to stop by. He promised he'd come tomorrow. Sarah didn't cry. She'd forgotten how. The diagnosis came after a week of tests. Cancer. A tumor. She needed surgery and long-term treatment. Sarah sat in the oncologist's office and listened to his words as if through cotton. Cancer. The word slammed into her head, leaving no space for anything else. Sarah, the doctor said, I understand this is hard to hear, but you do have a chance. If we start treatment now, you have a good chance. What kind of chance? With timely surgery and therapy, about 70%. That's not bad. 70%. 3 out of 10 wouldn't make it. And what if she ended up as one of those 3? What do I need to do? She heard her own voice say, as if from far away. Surgery. That's stage 1. Then chemotherapy. Possibly radiation. It's a long process, several months at minimum. And it's expensive, Sarah. I have to warn you. How much? The doctor named the amount. Sarah's vision darkened. That's it? That's the estimated cost. There may be additional expenses, medications, recovery. But the main part, yes. Sarah walked out of the office and stood in the hallway for a long time, leaning against the wall. She didn't have that kind of money. Not even close. The apartment cost less than that. That evening she told her parents everything. Her mom burst into tears. Her dad went pale, but held himself together. Sweetheart, we'll sell everything, he said. The little lake house, the car. We'll find the money. Dad, it won't be enough. It will. We'll take out a loan. I'm still working. The important thing is you have to get better. Do you hear me? You have to. For the first time in many days, Sarah cried. Then she called David and asked him to come over. They needed to talk. He arrived 2 hours later. He stopped by his mom's first. She had something to send. So, what happened? He asked, sitting down on the couch. Sarah took a breath. I have cancer, David. Silence. He looked at her for a few seconds, then his face changed. Something in him twitched. How? How is that? Cancer? Oncology. A tumor. I need surgery and treatment. It's expensive. Are you sure? Could it be a mistake? I had multiple tests. There's no mistake. David was quiet. Sarah waited for him to say something. To hug her, to say they'd get through it, to promise he'd be there. Everything a husband should say in that situation. And how much does it cost? He finally asked. Sarah named the amount. David let out a low whistle. Wow. And where are we supposed to get that? My parents will help. They'll sell the lake house. I'll withdraw my savings. And work? I'll work as long as I can. Management said they'll hold my position. David nodded. Then he stood up and paced around the room. Okay, he said. We'll figure it out. That was it. No hug. No words of support. Just we'll figure it out, as if they were talking about fixing a leaky faucet. That night Sarah lay awake, staring into the dark. Beside her, David breathed heavily in his sleep. He fell asleep quickly, like always. And she thought, why? Why is he like this? When did he become like this? Or was he always like this and she just didn't see it? The third unexpected turn happened a month after the diagnosis. Sarah was getting ready for surgery. She kept working as much as her condition allowed. She saved every dollar. Her parents sold the lake house, added their savings. It still wasn't enough, but Sarah hoped she could pull it together. David? David was acting strange. On one hand, he seemed to help, driving her to appointments, buying medications. On the other, he kept going to his mother more and more, and he talked about money more and more. Mom says she could really use a trip to a sanatorium, he said one evening, to get treatment. Now? Sarah couldn't believe her ears. We're counting every dollar. Well, Mom doesn't know about your problems. I didn't tell her. Why not? I don't want to upset her. Her blood pressure is already bad. Sarah stared at her husband in silence. Is he serious? David, I have cancer. Surgery is in 2 months. We don't have enough money. And you're talking about a health resort for your mom? Why are you yelling at me? He snapped. I just said what Mom wants. That doesn't mean we're doing it. But a week later, Sarah discovered money missing from their joint account. A lot of money. What is this? She asked, shoving the statement in front of him. Oh, that. Mom needed a new bed. An orthopedic one. Doctors recommended it. An orthopedic bed? For that kind of money? Good things cost money. David, that was money for my surgery. Don't yell. You'll earn more. Mom is suffering, her back hurts. Sarah choked on her outrage. I'll earn more? I have cancer. I don't know if I'll even be working in 6 months. Stop being dramatic. The doctor said your chances are good. They'll operate, you'll get better. And in the meantime, Mom is a person too. She needs help too. Your mom is 62, and she's healthier than I am. How would you know? Are you a doctor? Mom has suffered her whole life, heart, blood pressure, back, and you. You're just jealous that I help her. Sarah went quiet. She stared at this man, her husband, and didn't recognize him. Or no, she did recognize him. For the first time in 4 years, she was seeing the real him. That night she made a decision. The next day, Sarah went to the bank and opened a separate account in her own name, transferring all the remaining savings there. She didn't tell David. Then she went to her parents' house. Dad, Mom, I need your help, but not with money. What happened, sweetheart? Sarah told them everything. About David, about her mother-in-law, about the money he spent without asking, about how she felt in her own home. Her mom cried. Her dad listened in silence, his face hardening with every word. Here's what we're going to do, he said when Sarah finished. The money we've saved goes into your account. Don't give your husband access. And think, sweetheart. Think hard. What do you mean, Dad? I mean, whether you need a husband like that. When you're sick, he's thinking about his mother. What happens when it gets even worse? He leaves? Sarah stayed silent. She had been thinking the same thing, but was afraid to say it out loud. I'm not saying get divorced today, her father continued. You're sick, you don't need that right now. But get ready. Protect yourself. The apartment is yours. Make sure he doesn't sell it while you're in the hospital. Dad, he can't sell it. The apartment is in my name. Forging paperwork doesn't take long. I've seen cases like that. Be careful, sweetheart. Sarah hugged him. Her father was always right, even when she didn't want to admit it. The fourth unexpected turn happened the day before the surgery. Sarah was in the hospital, getting ready. Tomorrow was the most important day. Either everything would work out, or... She tried not to think about that. David came in that evening, brought oranges, some magazine, sat down on a chair beside her. "So how are you?" he asked. "Fine." "Nervous?" "Everything will be fine. The doctors say the surgery isn't complicated." "Not complicated? Where did you get that?" "Well, that's what I think. Medicine is advanced now, they can do anything." Sarah didn't argue. What was the point? "David, I want to ask you something." "What?" "While I'm in the hospital, don't take money from my account. Please." He tensed up. "What account?" "The one I transferred the savings to." "Oh, so you have a separate account now?" His voice turned cold. "Interesting. It's for treatment. After the surgery, I'll need medications and recovery." "Got it. You don't trust me." "David, it's not about trust." "Then what is it? Hiding money from me?" "I'm your husband, in case you forgot." "Exactly why I'm asking you don't touch it. It's for my treatment." David was quiet for a moment, then stood up. "All right, I have to go. I need to drop off medicine for Mom." He didn't even kiss her goodbye. He just walked out without looking back. Sarah watched him go and thought, this is the end. Their marriage was dead. Maybe it had been for a long time. She just didn't want to see it. The surgery went well. The doctors said the tumor had been removed, and now she needed therapy and recovery. Sarah spent 2 weeks in the hospital. David came rarely, maybe 3 times total. Every time with an annoyed face, like he was doing her a favor. Her parents were there every day. Her mom brought homemade food, her dad sat next to her, holding her hand. They didn't talk about David, but Sarah saw how her mother pressed her lips together at the mere mention of his name. When Sarah was discharged, David didn't come to pick her up. Her father drove her instead. "Where is he?" Sarah asked as she walked into the empty apartment. "He called," her dad said. "Said there was an urgent meeting at work. He'll be here tonight." Sarah nodded. She wasn't even upset anymore, just noting the fact. That evening David came home drunk. Not wasted, but noticeably. He sat on the couch, stared at the TV. "Well, congrats on getting discharged," he muttered without turning around. "Thanks. When are you going back to work?" "In a month. Recovery period." "Oh, okay. That was it. No, how do you feel?" "No, I'm glad you're home." "Nothing." Sarah went into the bedroom and lay down. Tears started sliding down her cheeks on their own. Not from pain, from emptiness. From the realization that she was completely alone. Her husband was right there, but it was like he didn't exist. That night she made a final decision. As soon as she felt better, she would get divorced. Enough. But fate had other plans. 2 weeks after she was discharged, Sarah got worse. The tests showed it. The disease was back, more aggressive than before. "We need to act immediately," the doctor said. "A new course of therapy, possibly another surgery." This is going to be very hard, Sarah." "How much time do I have?" The doctor hesitated. "With treatment? Months. Maybe years. Without treatment? I don't want to scare you, but then we're talking weeks." Sarah sat in his office and stared out the window. Spring was blooming outside. People walked down the street, laughing, talking. They lived their normal lives and had no idea how precious that was. "I'm going to do the treatment," she said. "I'll do whatever it takes." "Okay. Then we start next week." She left the office and called her parents. Then David. He didn't pick up. He called back an hour later. What did you want? I need to go into the hospital. Again. Again? You just got discharged. It's a relapse. The disease came back. Silence. That's bad, David finally said. So what now? Treatment. Long term. Got it. Well, hang in there. And he hung up. Sarah stood in the middle of the street, phone in her hand. The city roared around her, people rushed by. And she felt like she was already dead. Only her body hadn't gotten the message yet. The next weeks blurred into one endless hospital nightmare. IVs, injections, procedures, nausea, weakness, pain. Sarah was losing weight right before everyone's eyes. Her hair started falling out. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. A worn-out woman with sunken eyes stared back at her. Her parents came every day. Her mom sat beside her, read books out loud, told her the news. Her dad silently held her hand. 4 hours. Dad, you need to work, Sarah would say. I took leave. For how long? As long as it takes. David came once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks. He sat for 20 minutes, stared at his phone, then left. Things to do, work, Mom is waiting. One day Sarah asked, "Why do you come so rarely?" "What am I supposed to do here?" he said, surprised. "You're lying here. The doctors are treating you." "How can I help?" "Just be here. Talk to me." "Sarah, I'm busy. I have work. Mom is sick. I can't drop everything and sit here. Your mom has been sick for 30 years, and nothing." "What do you mean, nothing?" "She really is not okay. And you. You're selfish. You only think about yourself." Sarah went quiet. She understood. Explaining was useless. He wouldn't change. Never. That night she took her phone and texted Jenny. "I need a lawyer. A good one. Divorce and property." Jenny didn't ask questions. She sent a contact an hour later. The lawyer came to the hospital herself, a young, energetic woman named Emily. "All right, Sarah," she said, pulling out a notebook, "tell me everything from the very beginning." Sarah told her about the apartment her parents had gifted her before the marriage, about the money David spent on his mother, about the separate account, about everything. Emily listened, taking notes. "Okay," she said when Sarah finished. "The apartment is definitely yours, gifted before the marriage. He has no claim. The money in your account is also yours if you can prove you earned it yourself. The divorce should be straightforward, no kids, and very little disputed property. When can I file?" "As soon as tomorrow." "But, Sarah, I have to ask, you are in the hospital, your condition. How do you personally assess your prospects?" "The doctors say there's a chance. Not a big one, but there is." "Then it makes sense to prepare a will too, just in case, so your ex-husband can't claim your property." Sarah nodded. She hadn't thought about it, but the lawyer was right. "Let's do it. I'll prepare the divorce papers and the will. You'll sign when you can. Will your parents be witnesses?" "Yes." "Great. Then we'll stay in touch, Sarah. And hang in there." Emily left. And Sarah lay there thinking, so that's what it is. Writing a will at 34. Life is a strange thing. David knew nothing about the lawyer's visit. Sarah decided not to tell him yet. There would be time. First, she needed to gather strength for that conversation. But the strength never came. The therapy was brutal. Every day was a struggle. Sarah learned to value simple things: the morning ray of sunlight on the window, the smell of her mom's soup, her dad's hand in hers. That was all she had left. David came even less. Sometimes he called. Briefly. Businesslike. "How are you?" "Bad." "Well, get treated. You'll feel better soon." That was it. No "I love you," no "I miss you," no "I can't wait for you to come home." Just formalities. One day Sarah heard a nurse talking to her roommate. The one in the corner. "Her husband barely shows up, and she's still so young. She used to be beautiful." It's sad. Maybe he works a lot? He works, sure. He's glued to his mother. The whole hospital already knows. Sarah closed her eyes. Even strangers could see what she had refused to notice for 5 years. Another month passed. Sarah got a little better. The therapy was working. The doctors spoke carefully about hope, about the fact that the trend was positive. Sarah clung to those words like a lifeline. And then one morning, David walked into her room. Sarah hadn't been expecting him. He hadn't warned her about a visit. But there he was, standing in the doorway, and something about his face made her wary immediately. A kind of determination. Hardness. "We need to talk," he said. "About what?" He sat down on the chair next to her bed, looked at her not with pity or love, but with calculation. "Sarah, I need money." "What money?" "The money you're hiding. In your separate account." "That's for my treatment, David. You know that." "I know. But Mom needs a break. A sanatorium, the ocean, fresh air. The doctors recommend it." Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Are you serious right now? I'm in the hospital, barely alive. And you came to ask for money for your mother's spa trip? This isn't asking. Those are my money too. We're married. That's money I earned, and money from my parents. So I'm nobody, then? 4 years of marriage and I'm nobody?" Sarah looked at him and didn't recognize him. And yet she did. This was the real David. The one she hadn't wanted to see all these years. "Leave," she said quietly. "What?" "Leave. I'm not giving you money. Not a cent." "Sarah, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. Leave, David. I need to rest." He stood up. Something like anger appeared on his face. "You'll regret this," he said. "You think you're so smart? I'll find a way." And he walked out, slamming the door. Sarah lay there staring at the ceiling. Her heart was pounding. But oddly enough, she wasn't scared. She felt relief. Finally, the masks were off. Finally, everything was clear. She picked up her phone and called the lawyer. "Emily, can you come tomorrow? I'm ready to sign the documents." Emily came the next day, just like she promised. Sarah signed everything: the divorce filing, the will, the power of attorney for her parents to handle things while she was in the hospital. Her hand shook, but her signature was steady. "That's it," the lawyer said, sliding the papers into a folder. "I'll file today. David will get served within a week. He'll be furious. Let him. The law is on your side. The apartment is yours, the money is yours. He won't get anything." Sarah nodded. It felt strange. Like it was the right decision, but her chest still felt heavy. 4 years of marriage ending like this with a signature on an official form. "Sarah," Emily paused. "I need to warn you, some men react badly to divorce, especially when they realize they won't get anything. Be careful." "What can he do?" "I'm in the hospital. Hopefully nothing. But if he threatens you, pressures you, call me right away. Or the police." The lawyer left. Sarah sank back into her pillow and closed her eyes. She was exhausted. Not even physically, mentally. For years she'd been building a family, believing, hoping. And now divorce. At 34, with cancer, in a hospital room. But there was no time to feel sorry for herself. She needed treatment, she needed to fight, she needed to survive. The next 3 days were calm. David didn't show up and didn't call. Apparently he was offended after that conversation. Sarah was even glad. Less stress, more strength for recovery. Her parents came every day. Her mom brought homemade food broths, steamed patties, fruit compotes. Her dad sat beside her, shared the news, sometimes just stayed quiet, holding his daughter's hand. "Dad, you're tired," Sarah would say. "Go home, rest." "I am resting. Next to you." The doctors said the trend was positive. The tumor was retreating, the numbers were improving. Carefully, very carefully, hope was appearing. "Sarah, you're doing great," her attending doctor said during rounds. Your body is fighting. If this continues, in a couple months we'll be able to talk about remission. Remission. Sarah repeated the word to herself like a mantra. Remission. Recovery. Life. On the fourth day after the lawyer's visit, Jenny called. Sarah, how are you? Better. The doctors are encouraging. Thank God. Listen, I found out something. I don't know if I should even say it. Say it. You're David. He was at our office yesterday. He asked HR about you. What did he ask? About your salary. About your sick pay. About whether you have company insurance. Sarah went cold. And what did they tell him? Nothing, of course. That's confidential. But he was really pushy. He even caused a scene. Security escorted him out. Got it. Sarah, what's going on? Why would he need that? Long story, Jenny. I'll tell you later. Thank you for the warning. She hung up and stared at the ceiling for a long time. So David was planning something. Digging for information about her money. Trying to find out how much she had and where it was. Sarah grabbed her phone and called the bank. Checked her account. Everything was still there. Then she called her lawyer. Emily, he started digging. He went to my office, asked about my salary. Expected. Don't worry, he won't find anything. Your accounts are protected. And the apartment? The apartment is fine. I checked. No liens, no paperwork for a sale. He can't do anything without your signature. Okay. Thank you. Sarah calmed down a little. But the anxiety wouldn't let go. She knew David. When he wanted something, he didn't back off. And if money didn't come easily, he would look for other ways. David was served with the divorce papers 5 days later. Sarah found out from her lawyer. Emily called and told her the documents had been delivered. Now David had a month to respond. If he didn't show up in court, the divorce would be granted by default. Do you think he'll contest it? Sarah asked. He might try. But he has no grounds. You filed for divorce based on mutual unwillingness to continue the marriage. There's nothing to divide the apartment as premarital and yours, and there are no joint savings. At most, he can try to drag it out. Why would he do that? To buy time. The lawyer paused. Sarah, forgive my bluntness, but if you don't make it before the divorce is final, as your spouse he will have inheritance rights. Sarah understood. If she died while still married, David would get part of her property. If she divorced, he'd get nothing. How long does a divorce take? With no disputes, a month or two. But if he delays and appeals, it can stretch to 6 months. I don't have 6 months. I know. That's why we'll do everything we can to speed it up. And your will is already signed. Even if you don't manage to divorce in time, your parents will receive most of it. Most? By law, a spouse can have a mandatory share. Small, but still. Unfortunately, there's no way around that. Sarah closed her eyes. Even dead, she wouldn't be able to completely get rid of David. He'd still get something. But she didn't have the strength to think about it now. Right now she needed treatment and hoped that the divorce would move fast. David showed up the day after he got served. Sarah was lying in her room alone. Her parents had gone home for a couple hours to rest. Her roommate was at procedures. Silence, calm, the steady hum of medical equipment. And then the door flew open. David stood in the doorway, red-faced, disheveled, a folder in his hand, his eyes wild. What the hell are you doing? He threw the folder onto her bed. The summons. A copy of the divorce filing. Closing what should have been closed a long time ago, Sarah answered calmly. Divorce? You filed for divorce? Without warning, behind my back? How exactly was I supposed to do it? Ask your permission. You're out of your mind. David stepped closer, looming over the bed. I'm your husband. 4 years. And you do this? Exactly this. You showed me what kind of husband you are. When I got sick, you thought about sanatoriums for your mom. When I needed support, you were hunting for where my money was. Money again. You're obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with surviving. And you're not helping me. You're getting in my way. David clenched his fists. For a second, Sarah thought he might hit her. But he didn't. He pulled himself together. He dropped into the chair, rubbed his face with his palm. Fine. His voice softened, almost coaxing. Let's talk calmly. You're tired, I get it. Illness, nerves. But divorce isn't the answer. We're a family, Sarah. We were a family. We can fix everything. I'll change. I'll spend more time with you. I'll help. Sarah looked at him and didn't believe a single word. She had heard those promises before, after every fight, after every blow-up. I'll change, I'll be better. Nothing ever changed. It's too late, David. I made my decision. You can't do this. He raised his voice again. You're sick. You don't even understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly. For the first time in years. I'll contest it. I'll say you're not competent, that they pumped you full of drugs. Try it. I have a psychiatrist's evaluation stating I'm fully competent. Emily had made sure of that. David stopped short. Then he gave a nasty little smirk. A lawyer, huh? So you planned everything. You've been getting ready for this, haven't you? While I worked, while I helped Mom, you were plotting. I was protecting myself. From you. From me? What did I ever do to you? I always took care of you. You took care of your mother. On my dime. David stood up and paced the room. Then he turned back to her, and Sarah saw something new in his eyes. Cold calculation. Fine, he said. You want a divorce? You'll get a divorce. But we're splitting the money. Fairly. What money? My savings? The money I earned with my own work? We're married. Everything acquired is shared. Talk to a lawyer. My money is mine, the apartment is mine. You're getting nothing. We'll see about that. He grabbed the folder with the summons and stormed out of the room, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Sarah lay there staring at the ceiling. Her heart was pounding, her hands were shaking. But strangely, she felt strong. She didn't break, didn't back down, didn't let him scare her. For the first time in years, she was truly fighting for herself. A week passed after David's visit. He didn't show up again. Maybe he was processing it, consulting lawyers, coming up with a new plan. Sarah tried not to think about him and focused on treatment. Therapy went on, her condition slowly improved. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. If things keep going like this, the oncologist said, in a month we can switch you to outpatient treatment. A month. Sarah clung to that number. One more month, and she'd be out of here. One more month, and maybe everything would finally start to get better. Her parents came every day. Her father grew grim after Sarah told him about David's visit. If he dares to yell at you again, her father said, I'm going to break his legs. I don't care that he's your husband, your ex-husband. Dad, don't. He's not worth it. Worth it or not, you can't let anyone humiliate you. You're my daughter, and I won't let anyone hurt you. Sarah hugged her father. Thank God he was here. Thank God her parents were close. Her mother cried in secret. Sarah saw her red, swollen eyes. But in front of her daughter she held it together, smiled, talked about the neighbors, the weather, anything at all, as long as it wasn't the illness. Mom, everything will be okay, Sarah said. Of course it will, sweetheart. It will, it has to. And they both pretended they believed it. The storm broke 10 days later. It was a Tuesday morning. A normal morning for drip, breakfast, doctor rounds. Her parents were supposed to come around lunchtime. At about 11, the door to the room opened. Sarah lifted her eyes, and her heart dropped. David stood in the doorway. But not the David she'd seen a week earlier. This one was different. Red eyes, gray face, the stench of alcohol on him. He was drunk, not falling down drunk, but definitely. Well, hello there, wife, he said with a crooked smirk. Didn't expect me? What do you want? To talk. Like family. He walked into the room and closed the door behind him. Sarah reached for the nurse call button, but David grabbed her hand. Don't, he said. This is between us. Let go. First we talk. He sat down on the chair next to her bed, still holding her hand. His grip was tight, almost painful. I went to a lawyer, David began. You know what he told me? That I won't get anything. Nothing. Not the apartment, not the money. It's all yours. All protected. I told you that. You told me? I didn't believe you. I thought you were bluffing, but you're actually a sneaky bitch. You thought it all through, planned it all. While I worked like an idiot, you were setting me up. This isn't a setup. It's protection. Protection? He squeezed her hand even harder. From who? From your husband? I lived with you for 4 years, put up with your attitude, your job, your endless reports. And what do I get in return? A boot up my ass? I put up with you. Sarah felt anger boiling inside her. You? And who put up with your mother and her endless tantrums? Who put up with you spending our money on her little wants? Who put up with being alone while you were parked at her place? Don't you dare talk about my mom. I will. Your mother is a manipulator. She twisted you around her finger, and you loved it. A mama's boy who never grew up. David let go of her hand and slapped her across the face. Sarah gasped from the shock. Her cheek burned, her vision went dark. But she didn't cry, didn't scream. She just looked at him silent, steady. You. David looked like he'd scared himself with what he'd done. I didn't mean to. You pushed me. Leave. Sarah, listen, leave. Right now. Or I'm calling security. Wait. He grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her. I need money, do you understand? I need it. Mom is doing bad, she needs a sanatorium, and I've got nothing. That's not my problem. It is. You're my wife. Until we're divorced, you're obligated. I don't owe you anything. David let go of her shoulders and stepped back. His face twisted. Anger, desperation, hatred, everything mixed into a horrifying mask. So that's how it is, he hissed. So you don't give a damn about anyone but yourself? I do give a damn about myself. For the first time in my life. Fine. Then tell me one thing. He leaned in until his face was right up close. Where did you hide the money? None of your business. It is. Where? Leave. He grabbed her shoulders again and started shaking her hard, painfully. Sarah's head whipped side to side, the force slipped out of her vein, and blood began dripping onto the sheet. Where did you hide the money, you worthless trash? He screamed right in her face. Answer me. Where? Stage 4 can't be cured anyway. And my mom needs a vacation. Do you understand that or not? You're gonna die anyway. Why do you need money? The door to the room flew open. In the doorway stood Margaret, a nurse who'd worked here for 20 years and had seen everything. But she'd never seen this. What is going on in here? She yelled. David let Sarah go and stepped back. His face was twisted. This is family business. Stay out of it. Security. Margaret bolted into the hallway. Security. Room 3. A minute later there were 3 people in the room. 2 security guards and the on-call doctor. They pulled David away from the bed, twisted his arms behind his back. You don't have the right, he screamed. She's my wife. I have the right. You do not have the right to put your hands on a patient, the doctor said coldly. Get him out of here. I'll be back, David shouted as they dragged him toward the door. You hear me, Sarah? I'll find that money. You're going to give it to me. The door slammed. His yelling faded down the hallway. Sarah lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. A single tear ran down her cheek. Her hand ached where he'd squeezed it. Her vein was bleeding. But the worst part was his words. Stage 4 can't be cured anyway. He wanted her dead. Her husband, the man she'd loved, wanted her to die, because then he'd get the money. Margaret came over, silently cleaned up her arm, started a new 4. Then she sat down beside her. Want me to call the police? She asked softly. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Yes. Call them. The police arrived half an hour later. 2 officers, young guys, almost boys, questioned Sarah and took her statement. Margaret acted as a witness. The guards confirmed what they saw. Do you want to press charges? One officer asked. I do. Good, he nodded. You can't let something like that slide. After the police left, Sarah called her parents. She told them everything. Her mom started crying into the phone. Her father didn't speak, but Sarah could hear his heavy breathing. We're coming, he finally said. Hang in there, sweetheart. Then she called her lawyer. Emily, he hit me. In front of witnesses. The police came. Excellent, the lawyer replied. I mean, of course it's horrible, but for the case, excellent. That will speed up the divorce. And we can file for emotional damages. I don't want his money. It's not about the money. It's about principle. He needs to be held accountable. Okay. Do what you need to do. Sarah hung up and closed her eyes. Exhausted. So exhausted she wanted to fall asleep and never wake up. But she couldn't allow herself that. She had to fight. To the end. Her parents arrived that evening. Her mom immediately rushed to Sarah, hugged her, and cried. Her father stood off to the side, fists clenched. His face was stone. Where is he? Her father asked. I don't know. Security escorted him out. The police took his info. He probably went home. I'm going to find him. Dad, don't. He's not worth it. And you don't need trouble. I don't care about trouble. He laid a hand on my daughter. On my sick daughter. That's... Her father cut himself off, unable to find words. Honey, her mother said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Not now. Sarah needs peace. Her father nodded. But Sarah could see it, he wasn't calm. He was just postponing it. The 3 of them stayed together until late. They talked about nothing important, drank tea her mom brought in a thermos. Sarah felt their love warm, unconditional, real. The love she had never gotten from David. Around 8, her mom started gathering her things. We should go, sweetheart. You need rest. Mom, everything will be okay, Sarah said. I'll handle it. Of course you will. You're strong. Stronger than you think. They hugged. Her father kissed her forehead. We'll come first thing in the morning, he said. If anything happens, call any time. Her parents left. Sarah was alone again. Outside the window, it was getting dark. The city lit up, somewhere far off a highway hummed. An ordinary evening. An ordinary life that kept going no matter what. Sarah lay there thinking about what had happened, about David's words, about his eyes wild, hateful. How could she have lived with this man for 4 years and not seen who he really was? Love is blind, people say. No, Sarah thought. Love isn't blind. The blind one is the person who doesn't want to see. She didn't even notice herself falling asleep. She woke up to a nurse's voice. Sarah? Sarah, wake up. Sarah opened her eyes. The room was dark, only the hallway light spilled through the half-open door. It was almost 11 at night. What happened? She asked, struggling to come fully awake. Someone's here to see you, the nurse said. From the police. Police? At night? Sarah went cold. What else could have happened? 2 people walked into the room, a man and a woman in plain clothes. Serious faces, official. Sarah Johnson, the man asked. Yes. That's me. Detective Thompson. This is my partner, Detective Wilson. Sarah froze. Detectives. Not regular patrol officers. That meant something serious. What happened? Sarah asked again. Detective Thompson paused, looked at his partner. Sarah, you are the wife of David Johnson. Yes. For now. We're in the middle of a divorce. Understood. Sarah, I'm very sorry, but I have to tell you. He paused again. Sarah felt her heart start beating faster. What? What happened? Tonight, around 9 p.m., your husband was in a car accident on the bypass. An accident? He's in the hospital? No, Sarah. He died. He passed away at the scene. Silence. Sarah stared at the detective and didn't understand his words. Dead. David was dead. Impossible. Just that morning he'd been here, screaming at her, shaking her by the shoulders. And now he was dead? How? How did it happen? Preliminary reports say he lost control of the vehicle, crossed into oncoming traffic and collided with a truck. The investigation will confirm the details, but it appears he was under the influence of alcohol. Sarah remembered the smell of stale booze on him that morning. He'd been drinking. Drinking in the morning, then got behind the wheel. A truck. Is the driver okay? The truck driver wasn't injured. He managed to brake, and the impact hit the passenger vehicle. Sarah nodded. Strange that she'd asked about the truck driver. Strange that it mattered to her. We need you to identify the body, the detective continued. But given your health condition, other relatives may be able to do it. He has a mother. Barbara. Yes, we know. We already contacted her. She's in shock, of course, but she agreed to come tomorrow. Sarah nodded again. Her head was empty, like it was packed with cotton. If you have any questions, the detective started. No. No questions. Thank you for telling me. The detectives exchanged a look. Detective Wilson stepped forward. Sarah, if you need psychological support. I don't. Thank you. I need to be alone. They left. The nurse lingered in the doorway. Do you want me to call someone? Your parents? No, not right now. In the morning. Okay. If you need anything, I'm nearby. The door closed. Sarah lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. David was dead. The man she had loved. The man who had screamed terrifying words in her face that morning. The man who wanted her to die. He was dead. And she was alive. A strange feeling. No grief. No joy either. Just something hollow, echoing, like sound in an empty room. Stage 4 can't be cured anyway, he'd said that morning. And that evening, life punished him in the cruelest way. He wanted her death, and he died instead. Sarah closed her eyes. She didn't cry. She'd forgotten how. Morning came gray and overcast. Outside the window, a light rain misted down, droplets sliding along the glass in winding trails. Sarah hadn't slept all night. She lay there with her eyes open, thinking. They were strange thoughts. Not about David's death, she'd barely thought about that, but about her own life, about how everything had turned out, about the choices she'd made, about the price she'd paid. At 7 a.m. she called her parents. Mom, she said when her mother picked up, David is dead. Silence. Then a choked inhale. How? How? An accident. Last night. The police came in the middle of the night. They told me. Oh my God. Her mom went quiet. Sarah, how are you? I don't know. Fine, I guess. I don't feel anything. We're coming. Right now. Her parents arrived an hour later. Her mom immediately hugged her daughter. Her father stood nearby with an unreadable face. Tell me, he said. Sarah told them everything. About the police visit, about the crash, about David being drunk behind the wheel. That's it, she finished. He's gone. Her father was silent. Then he said slowly, I'm not going to pretend, sweetheart. I don't feel sorry for him. After what he did to you, I don't. Honey, her mother shot her father a scolding look. What? I'm telling the truth. That man screamed at our sick daughter, demanded money, hit her. And now I'm supposed to act like I'm mourning? No. Sarah shook her head. Dad, I also don't feel grief. That's scary, right? My husband died and I don't care. That's not scary. That's normal. He stopped being your husband long before he died. You're just admitting what you've known for a long time. Her mom wiped her eyes. What happens now? A funeral? I don't know. The police said they contacted his mother. She's supposed to identify the body. Barbara. Her mother pressed her lips together. She must be horrified. Probably. And suddenly Sarah realized she didn't care at all how her mother-in-law was doing. The woman who had manipulated her son for years turned him against his wife, demanded money and attention now she was alone. No son, no support. Karma, Sarah thought. Or just life. Barbara's first call came that same day, around noon. Sarah looked at her phone screen. The contact was saved as mother-in-law. She wanted to decline, but changed her mind. This needed an ending. Hello? Is that you? Barbara's voice was hoarse, cracked. Are you happy now? Hello, Barbara. Don't hello me. You killed my son. Sarah stayed silent, waiting. This is your fault, her mother-in-law screamed. You pushed him to it. With your divorce, your fights. He drank because of you, he got behind the wheel because of you. Barbara, your son made his own choice. He chose to drive drunk. That's not my fault. It is. If you'd been a normal wife, if you'd taken care of him the way you're supposed to, none of this would have happened. I'm in the hospital with cancer. Your son came to me, screamed, demanded money, hit me. In front of witnesses. Is that your idea of a normal wife? Silence. Then a sob. He couldn't. David couldn't hit you. You're lying. There are witnesses. There's a police report. You can check. You snake. You filthy little you always wanted to take him away from me. Barbara, Sarah tried to keep her voice calm even though everything inside her was boiling. I'm not going to argue with you. Your son is gone. I'm sorry for your loss. But blaming me for his death is unfair and stupid. How dare you? I'm his mother. I lost my only son. And I'm the wife he betrayed. The wife he hid in a hospital room. The wife he screamed at, telling her she was going to die anyway. We both suffered because of him, Barbara. You just refused to see it. Her mother-in-law went quiet. Then, softly, almost in a whisper, she said, You'll get what's coming to you. You think it's that simple? The apartment, the money. You think it's all yours? I have rights. I'm his mother. I'm an heir. Talk to a lawyer, Sarah replied. And don't call me again. She ended the call and turned her phone off. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear, from anger. Even now, when her son was dead, Barbara was thinking about money. About the apartment. About inheritance. Like mother, like son. The funeral was 3 days later. Sarah didn't go. The doctors wouldn't let her, and she didn't want to anyway. What was the point? Saying goodbye to a man she'd lost a long time ago? Pretending grief she didn't feel? Her parents didn't go either, out of solidarity with their daughter. We have nothing to do there, her father said. Let his mother bury him. That's her son. Later Jenny told her what it was like. Not many people. His mom, a couple neighbors, someone from work. The casket was closed, there was nothing to show, the impact was bad. Barbara cried, screamed that it was your fault. Everyone pretended they didn't hear. Got it. Sarah, how are you? Like, really? Strange. Empty. Like this isn't even happening to me. That's probably shock. It'll pass. Maybe. After the funeral, Barbara got active. She hired a lawyer. Sarah found out from Emily. She filed a claim to be recognized as an heir to her son's property, the attorney told her. She's also trying to go after your apartment. On what basis? She claims the apartment was bought during the marriage with shared funds and that her son contributed money toward renovations and upkeep. That's a lie. My parents gave me the apartment before the marriage. There are documents. I know. And the judge will see that. But she can drag this out for months. Let her try. Sarah felt tired. Not physically, deep down. How much longer? How much longer did she have to fight, prove, defend herself? She was sick, barely holding on, and this woman wanted to take the last thing she had. But Sarah wasn't going to give up. She'd come too far to give up now. The court proceedings began 2 weeks later. By then Sarah was doing a little better. The therapy was working. The doctors spoke cautiously about a positive trend, about being able to hope. Sarah missed the first hearing. She was still in the hospital. Emily appeared in her place and returned with good news. The judge immediately saw the claims are baseless. The apartment is your premarital property, confirmed by documentation. Barbara couldn't provide any proof that her son contributed money. So what now? Now she'll appeal. But that's a formality. In a couple months at most, the case will be closed in your favor. And the money? My savings? Also yours. She tried to argue it was marital property, but all deposits came from your work account. David didn't have access. Sarah nodded. At least there was some justice. There's one more thing, the attorney continued. Barbara is seeking damages for emotional distress. She claims you drove her son to his death. That's ridiculous. Of course it is. The judge will dismiss it, but I want you to be prepared. She's going to say ugly things about you, publicly. Let her. I don't care. And it was true. Sarah really didn't care what Barbara thought or said. This woman lost her son, and instead of grieving, she was spending her time on lawsuits and accusations. That said more about her than any words. The second hearing took place a month later. By then Sarah had been moved to outpatient treatment. She was living at home, driving to the hospital for procedures. This time she came to court in person. She wanted to look her mother-in-law in the eyes. Barbara sat in the courtroom, older now, gaunt. When Sarah walked in, Barbara snapped her head up and stared at her with hatred. So you showed up, she hissed. Murderer. Barbara, I'm warning you to refrain from insults, the judge said. That's not an insult, it's the truth. She killed my son. Your son died in a traffic accident, the judge said coldly, and he himself was at fault. Sarah has nothing to do with it. She drove him to it with her fights, with her divorce. Barbara, we have the case file. Sarah's assault report, witness statements. Your son came to the hospital under the influence, assaulted his seriously ill spouse, and was removed by security. That happened the same day he died. If anyone is responsible for his death, it is only he himself. Barbara opened her mouth to argue, but her attorney, a tired-looking middle-aged man, placed a hand on her shoulder. Your Honor, my client is dealing with a profound loss. I ask for your understanding. I understand, but emotions don't replace evidence. Now, to the facts of the case. Sarah, do you confirm that the apartment at the listed address was gifted to you by your parents before you entered into marriage? I confirm. Here is the gift agreement, notarized. The judge reviewed the documents. Everything is in order. Barbara, do you have documents confirming your son's contribution to the purchase or improvement of this property? He lived there. For 4 years. That is not grounds for establishing ownership. Do you have documents? Barbara stayed silent. Her lawyer spread his hands. No documents, Your Honor. Then the claim to recognize an ownership interest in the apartment is denied. But that's not fair. Barbara shot up. My son gave this woman 4 years of his life. He took care of her, worked for her. Sarah couldn't hold it in. Took care of me, she repeated, standing up. Your son spent my money on your whims. Phones, TVs, health resorts. While I worked, he brought you gifts. And when I got sick, he demanded I hand over my savings. For your vacation, while I was dying in the hospital. You're lying. I have bank statements, every transfer, every purchase. Your son didn't earn a single cent of what you're trying to take right now. Barbara went pale. You're slandering him. David was a good boy. David was a grown man who never grew up because you wouldn't let him. You kept him close, controlled his every step. And when he tried to live his own life, you'd call in the middle of the night complaining about your blood pressure. I'm his mother. You were his anchor. And he drowned. The courtroom fell silent. The judge tapped her gavel. That's enough. Sarah, sit down. Barbara, I'm asking you to calm down. The court will issue its decision. The ruling went in Sarah's favor. The apartment remained hers. The savings did too. The emotional distress claim was dismissed for lack of grounds. Barbara ran out of the courtroom without looking at Sarah. Her attorney spread his hands, like, what can you do? Law is law. Congratulations, Emily said. The case is closed. Will she appeal? She might try, but it's pointless. The decision is clear. Sarah nodded. She should have felt relief, happiness, but she felt only exhaustion. Thank you, she told her lawyer. For everything. It's my job, but honestly, I'm glad I helped you specifically. You deserve justice. They shook hands, and Sarah walked outside. It was a warm spring day. The sun was shining, birds were singing, people hurried along to their own lives. Ordinary life that kept going. Sarah stood on the courthouse steps and looked out at the city. Her city. Her life. She survived despite everything. She survived. 3 months passed. Sarah sat in her oncologist's office waiting for the results of her next round of tests. Her hands weren't shaking. She'd learned to manage fear, or maybe she was just tired of being afraid. The doctor walked in with a folder in his hand, his face unreadable as always. Sarah, he began, I have news for you. I'm listening. The test results show. He paused, and Sarah's heart clenched. They show stable remission. No tumor, no metastases, your numbers are normal. Sarah didn't understand right away. So, I'm healthy? I wouldn't use that word. Cancer is tricky, you'll need monitoring for years. But at this moment, yes. You're in remission. You won. Sarah stared at him and couldn't believe it. Won. She won. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Thank yourself. You fought. You didn't give up. That's what matters. She walked out of the office on unsteady legs. Pulled out her phone and called her mom. Mom, her voice shook, remission. I'm in remission. On the other end, silence. Then a sob. Sweetheart. Oh my God. Honey. Honey, come here. Sarah heard her mom crying, heard her dad take the phone, heard his voice break. Baby, we're coming. We're coming right now. I can get there myself, Dad. I'm okay. We're coming anyway. Wait for us. Sarah put her phone away and stepped outside. July, heat, the city drowning in green. She stood on the clinic steps and smiled for the first time in many months. Really smiled. She won. 6 months later, Sarah's life was unrecognizable. She went back to work, first part-time, then full-time. Her co-workers greeted her with flowers and champagne. Jenny cried, hugging her. Sarah, we were so worried about you. We're so happy you're back. Management offered her old role, but Sarah refused. I want something simpler, she explained. No emergencies, no sleepless nights. Life is too short. They gave her a consultant position, calm, low stress, flexible schedule. The pay was lower, but Sarah didn't care. She could earn money. The important thing was living. She sold the apartment. Too many bad memories. For years with David, his things, his smell, she needed to leave all of it in the past. With the money she made, she bought another place, bright, spacious, in a good neighborhood, with a balcony overlooking a park. Every morning she drank coffee on that balcony and watched the sun rise over the trees. Her parents came often, helped with renovations, brought her mom's homemade pastries, just sat. Her father, always reserved, no longer hesitated to hug his daughter. I'm so proud of you, he told her. You're stronger than all of us. It's because of you, Dad. You were there. We'll always be there, no matter what. Sarah tried not to think about Barbara. She only knew Barbara sold David's apartment and moved somewhere out into the county, to some distant relatives, probably to live out her days. Sarah felt neither anger nor pity toward her, just indifference. That woman belonged to the past, a past Sarah had left behind. One evening, about a year after everything, Sarah sat on her balcony watching the sunset. The sky was painted in orange and pink, so beautiful it took her breath away. She remembered how, as a kid, she used to watch sunsets with her mom. Every sunset is one of a kind, her mom would say. Back then Sarah didn't understand why it mattered. Now she did. Every day is one of a kind. Every moment. Every breath. She had almost lost all of it. The illness, the failed marriage, the betrayal. All of it could have broken her, could have killed her. But she survived. Not because of despite. Despite the disease, despite David, despite everything. Life punished him, Sarah thought. Not her life. He wanted her dead, and he died himself. In the morning he screamed at her in the hospital, and by evening he'd crashed on the highway. Justice? Karma? Or just coincidence? Sarah didn't know and didn't want to know. It didn't matter. What mattered was that she was alive, that the sun was sinking beyond the horizon, that birds were singing in the park, that tomorrow would be a new day. She picked up her phone and called Jenny. Jenny, hey. Listen, let's go to a cafe tomorrow, sit, talk, like we used to. Sarah, of course. I'd love that. Perfect. See you tomorrow. Sarah put her phone down and smiled. Life went on. Her life new, clean, free. And it was better than any revenge. Epilogue. 2 years passed. Sarah stood by the sea, watching the waves. A warm wind tugged at her hair, grown out, thick, chestnut brown. No traces of illness, only a small scar on her arm where an 4 had once been. Beside her stood a man, tall, blond, with kind gray eyes. His name was Robert, and he worked as a doctor at the very clinic where Sarah had been treated. They met by chance, during one of her follow-up visits. They started talking, exchanged numbers. Robert wasn't like David. Not at all. He didn't yell, didn't demand, didn't manipulate. He was simply there, calm, dependable, real. What are you thinking about? He asked, taking her hand. About how strangely life is put together. 2 years ago I was lying in a hospital bed thinking I'd die, and now I'm standing here with you, looking at the ocean. Life knows how to surprise you. Yeah. Sometimes cruelly, sometimes beautifully. Robert put his arm around her shoulders. You're the strongest woman I know, he said. You walked through hell and came out the winner. I just didn't give up. That's not strength, that's stubbornness. It's the same thing. They stood in silence, watching the sunset. The sun slowly sank into the sea, painting the sky in unbelievable colors. Sarah remembered that day. That terrifying day when David screamed at her in the hospital. His words, filled with hatred. His eyes, with not a trace of love in them. You won't cure stage 4, he had yelled. He was wrong. About everything. She got better. She won. She lives. And he doesn't. Sarah felt no triumph, no gloating, only a quiet gratitude to fate, to the doctors, to her parents, to everyone who stood by her during the darkest hours. Shall we head home? Robert asked. Yes, let's go. They turned and walked along the beach, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. Ahead of them was the road, the car, the city. Ahead of them was life. Their life. Years later, when people asked Sarah about that period, she always answered the same way. Life punished him on its own. I didn't have to do anything. I just survived, and that turned out to be the best revenge. And then she would add, but it's not about revenge. It's about living, truly living, valuing every day, loving the people who are there for you, and not wasting time on those who don't deserve it. And she would smile, that same smile she once lost and later reclaimed at the cost of unimaginable effort, the smile of someone who knows the value of life.